What up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast, and I'm here with my boy Jeremy, aka DFS Dudes, and we're here to present you our NBA morning shoot around for Wednesday, November 14th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This way you can watch all of our NBA, NFL, and MLB videos. And if you haven't came and checked out our website here at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily Fanduel and Draftkings cash lineups. Hey, truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. Come definitely check out the site, dfscheatsheet.com. And yeah, man, so how you doing out there, Jeremy?
I'm good, man. Real good. This is a big slate, so let's just hop into this bad boy and break it down.
Yeah, definitely. I'm ready to go as well. So let me get to the optimizer and pull up the games real quick. All right. So obviously we got a monster slate, 11 games to break down. We're not going to waste no time. I'm ready to jump right into it. So obviously we're not going to have all the lines, but actually surprisingly, we got a lot more lines than I expected to have going into tomorrow. Yesterday we had 3 games and only one of them had lines, so I was kind of expecting that. So we actually got some good stuff going on right now. So let's just get started. First game we're going to get started with is going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers going into Washington to face the Wizards. This game, let me get over there. Sorry about that. Yeah, so Cleveland Cavaliers going into Washington to face the Wizards. This game has a 220 implied total, and Washington is favored by 12 in this one.
Yeah, man. So Cleveland, if you look here, you can see that the highest priced player on Cleveland's team is $6,300. They're on a short rotation. This guy David Nwaba actually had a good game tonight. I believe he had 30 fantasy points, if I'm not mistaken, 29 fantasy points tonight. This guy we know going back to last year with Chicago in spots came out and played extremely well. So this Cleveland team has a lot of value. I will also note they're coming on back-to-back. Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson getting a lot of minutes. Tristan Thompson, this guy's been playing extremely well as well. I mean, his price, we've seen his price come all the way from around $4,200, and now he's a $5,800 player tomorrow. So 39.7 tonight, 40.9 against Chicago. We know that Dwight Howard's not the most effective center in the league, right? I mean, he's a very soft player. Tristan Thompson's kind of got that, for lack of a better term, he's kind of got a thug mentality, man. The dude's a tough player. He's tough. I think this Cleveland team has a ton of value on a large slate. And I think with it being a large slate, people may overlook Cleveland because they're Cleveland, but it's a short rotation. A lot of guys on the guys in the rotation are getting a ton of minutes. So you could definitely look at playing a Tristan Thompson again in this mid-tier at center. You could definitely look at playing Larry Nance at 6,300. You can definitely look at playing Clarkson, Sexton, even Rodney Hood, J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith had a big game tonight. 27 fantasy points, and he was almost bare minimum value tonight at 3,800, I believe. And then this dude David Nwaba. So there's plays on this Cleveland team. Washington, as we've mentioned many times before on these videos, they're a mess. Don't really know what's going on with them. But Cleveland is, for being a bad team with as many guys as they have out. Osman's probably going to be out again. George Hill's out. Sam Decker's out, and what's his name? Kevin Love is out, and so is Kyle Korver. So they got a ton of guys out, short rotation, tons of value, and the most expensive guy is $6,300. So
Yeah, and then on the Washington side of things, I think you look at the obvious guys. John Wall. I know this is sad to say, but John Wall, I think he's picked it up the last 5 games, and I think he's playing to get traded. Like he's playing very well, and I think honestly, John Wall or Bradley Beal is going to end up getting traded out of Washington. This combination is not going to win them anything. Honestly, it's the same thing in my opinion with McCollum and Lillard. Backcourt, I think. The thing is both of those teams they have solid big men. I don't know. I just think when they have a star backcourt, that usually doesn't really work unless you got the Splash Brothers, in my opinion. So I think one of these guys is going to get traded. But like I said, with John Wall, he's been playing very well, playing consistent. 10.2. It's like, do we really want to pay that for him? But the guy has been playing well for sure. So I think Wall's somebody we can definitely look at. Shooting, Bill, his price tag starting to get up as well. But I mean, he's been playing pretty well as well. If I was going to go with either one of these guys, I definitely think it would be John Wall in this particular situation going against Cleveland. Sexton, he's not a very good defender. Talked about that last night. Point guards have been, having really, really good games going against him. So I like John Wall in this spot a lot. Bradley Beal, like so, would be the secondary play for me. Porter, man, this guy's cheap. 5,700. It's a really good price tag for him, but I mean, he's not getting the minutes. I don't know if he's hurt or they're just like they really love Cali Oubre, and that's where the minutes are going. I don't understand why Porter's not getting the minutes. So for me, I think he's kind of a stay away. Same thing with Markieff Morris. I mean, this guy's just completely up and down. Hasn't been very consistent at all. We know this guy has upside. Definitely know that. But, I mean, one day he does good, one day he does bad. One day he's playing 35 minutes, the next day he's playing 20 minutes. Up and down for me. And then lastly, Dwight Howard, 7,400, fair price tag. I like him in this spot. Definitely think he can have a decent game. He's been solid since he's been there. He hasn't had nothing special, but the price tag is not – up neither. I mean, for him to hit value, we need about 36. I definitely think that's something that he can get. He is projected 38 tomorrow. So that's really where I'm at. I'm not really going to look anywhere else. Like I said, Oubre, you can look at him. 4.2, and this guy does have a little bit of upside if you're looking for somebody on the lower end. He generally has been getting his minutes. And, that's it. I'm ready to move on.
Push it.
Okay, so next we're going to move on to Philadelphia, going into Orlando to face the Magic. This game has a 222 implied total. Philadelphia is favored by 6. And before we do get into this, I do want to note this is going to be Jimmy Butler's first game playing with the 76ers. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, definitely get us started with the Philadelphia side. You got the good side of things.
So Philadelphia coming in with an implied total of 114. I know that this is supposed to be the debut of Jimmy Butler. I read this trade still not official. I read this on the Dario Saric, Robert Covington side of it, that they were hopeful these guys would be able to play tomorrow for Minnesota because the trade hasn't been finalized with the league office yet. So we'll see if Jimmy Butler does in fact play tomorrow. And how effective he is if he does play. I definitely think it's a wait-and-see type deal with Jimmy Butler. I wouldn't expect him to go out there and just ball and put up 70 fantasy points for sure. His price tag, for term of value, you need about 54 for Jimmy Butler to make value tomorrow. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 52, right? 52 points for him to make value tomorrow. So Jimmy Butler's a guy that I don't think this is a spot to play him if he does play. When he first went to Minnesota, Jimmy Butler struggled to score too. He was overpriced and he didn't deliver on fantasy points. He kind of like tried to feel his way in, tried to facilitate a little bit, and then I want to say 6, 8, 9 games into the season last year, then Jimmy Butler finally had a big fantasy outburst. So based off that, and then going to a new team, no practice, going to go straight to a game. These guys haven't officially been rostered yet because the trade's not been finalized yet. So wait and see with Jimmy Butler. And then I think you kind of got to wait and see with some of the other pieces on this team too, because how is it all going to fit? How's it all going to work together? They're going to have Embiid, Simmons, and Butler on the floor at the same time. Hey, bro, one thing I want to ask you, dude, you've seen Charles Barkley's golf swing, right?
Right.
Have you seen these videos going around about Markelle Fultz, his free throws?
Bro, so I posted one on my funny Instagram page that I have on Instagram, bro. It's hella funny. That dude, Hey, it's crazy, but you know what I heard was I was reading into it right now. Actually, before we got on here, what I heard is some people are trying to say he's just mentally out of it, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, the one that really makes sense to me is that they said he got into a motorcycle accident. He had to have surgery on his shooting shoulder, and so it's just not the same like his shooting motion on the shoulder. Does that make sense?
Well, I was watching him, dude, and I'm like, in the beginning of the year, and I'm like, what's wrong with this dude's? Because you know who he was shooting? He looked like he was shooting free throws like he shoot like he was shooting them like Noah, dude. Remember Joakim Noah? How he freaking like I don't know what he did with his shot, and people would boo him and everything. That's what it looked like to me. And then they showed the side angle, and it was like a normal shot. I'm like now I
Yeah.
feel kind of messed up, but to me it'd be funny to make a video, bro, of him shooting the free throw in that motion that he did last night, and then Kawhi with the laugh going, "Wah." I think that'd be funny.
Bro. So the Kawhi laugh on Markel Fultz free throw. You want to meme any of that, bro? Hey, I'm gonna work on that for you, bro.
Dude, if you text me that, bro, I might not be able to stop laughing. That'd be funny. But
All right.
anyway, I think it's kind of a wait and see approach with this, man. Joel Embiid 11,000. I love taking centers against Vucevic. I could see rostering Embiid tomorrow. Simmons at 9,500. I just don't know how much his ability to get assists are going to be affected by Jimmy Butler because this is kind of the role. So for me, I'm really in a wait and see. The value is going to really be gone because of the fact that they're going to have a little bit fuller of a roster. I know Jimmy Butler's just one spot to replace three, but you know, I still think that Jimmy Butler steps right into the shooting guard position or small forward position, and Markel Fultz will continue to get the run he got without Covington and Saric. And then beyond that, you know, you can look at a Mike Muscala if you want to punt, I guess. But other than that, I just it's a wait and see for me.
Yeah, so then I mean on the Orlando side, I'm just gonna go right to the obvious guys that I've been going to with them. You got Fournier. I think he's a really good play. You know, he's been a little bit up and down, but recently he's been playing very well. He's starting to pick it up. Outside of one game, he's pretty much playing, 30 plus minutes a game. He's getting his shots, scoring the ball well. 60. His price is 6,500. Fair price tag. We need 30 for him to hit. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, about 31 for him to hit value. They need his scoring for sure. Going against Philadelphia, I definitely think this is a solid spot for him. Fournier's in a good spot. Um, Let me see. Gordon. Honestly, I have a rule. I just don't really play Gordon. I mean, he's been playing well for sure. Honestly, this team has been playing well the past 5 games. A lot of these guys have been doing their thing, but the price tags is just a little bit up for me. The one guy I do really like of all the Magics, my favorite play is going to be Vooch. I think Vooch is in an absolutely great spot. Love this dude here. He's been starting to get his minutes back up in the 30s again. Going against Joel Embiid. As long as he doesn't get in foul trouble, I'm really liking Vooch. I think that he can have a monster game here. We know that this guy has upside, and 8,200 for value. All we need is 41, and I definitely think he's going to get us that here. And he has, 6 times, 7 times upside on this price. That's really where I'm at. I'm not really going to be looking to anybody else outside of Fournier and Vooch, and then like I said, Gordon, maybe 1 or 2 GPP lineups, and that's about it. Ready to move on.
Bro, who is this Polly just trolling us right now in the chat, man? This dude's he's got everybody as a lock tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know, bro.
All right, let's move on. We're moving on.
All right, so we're moving on to the next game. We got Chicago going into Boston. This game has a 210.5 implied total, and Boston's favored by 12 in this one.
Man, so I mean, Zach LaVine's the obvious play here, but you know the thing is, Boston's really good defensively. They're a good defensive team. So Zach LaVine at 8,700, maybe a little bit overpriced for what I like. Jabari Parker's price has dropped to 6,800. Justin Holiday seems to be a legit play, but now he's getting into the place where he's $5,500. I can't pronounce Archidiacono or whatever. I think this dude might even be Italian. My freaking family's probably like, you can't even pronounce an Italian name. It's messed up. But I can't. You know how to pronounce this dude's name? Archidiaconino or I don't know, bro. This dude seems to be a pretty good play though. 27 fantasy points the other night at a $3,800 price tag. 26 is what it was. Okay. But this guy seems like, he could be the play, but do you really want to take a point guard against a Kyrie Irving? I don't. I think Kyrie's a lot better defender. His true defensive rating is better than what his reputation is. So, this Bulls team on this 11-game slate is not a place that I'm going to look to target. There's no real value here as far as that I want to get into. And I think maybe on this particular slate, Levine at $8,700 is probably a little bit overpriced for this 11-game slate. There's other spots.
Yeah, and then on the Boston side of things, I think there's a couple guys you could definitely look at. First thing first, Kyrie Irving starting to pick it up, playing well. The price tag is getting up a little bit, but it's a very fair price. I definitely could see him. I know him and Levine probably aren't going to guard each other directly, but I could definitely see them going back and forth, hitting threes, scoring the ball. So yeah, no, Kyrie Irving's in a really good spot. I like him in the up-tempo game against the Bulls. You need about 45 for him to hit value. Definitely think he can do that. Shooting guard, the thing about it is you got Jaylen Brown and Smart, kind of sharing minutes. I'm not really feeling that situation. No thanks on Hayward. Jason Tatum, I just don't know what to do with Tatum. He's been so up and down recently, and the price tag, I understand he's got 40-40 pretty much the past two, but before that, he was 17, 27, 26. For me, I'm not really messing with Tatum. And then lastly, Al Horford, 7,200. Fair price tag. This guy does a little bit of everything. He's a consistent, he's consistent. He's never going to kill you. He's going to get you at least 26 or 28 on the floor, and he has 40 fantasy point upside. Solid price tag. I definitely think you could look at Horford for GPPs. We've been taking big men against Chicago all year. That's something that we've been doing, so why not do it now? Horford, fair price, and that's really where I'm at. It's just more Kyrie Irving is the guy I'm liking the most. Horford a little bit for GPP, and yeah, that's it. Ready to move on.
Move on.
Ooh. Next game that we're gonna go with is gonna be Miami going into Brooklyn to face the Nets. This game has a 218.5 implied total, and Miami's favored by 2 in this one. Real quick before we get into this game, I just wanted to know. You see Zach LaVine, he had that super crazy fall, and they took him off in a stretcher, and everybody was crying for him and stuff. And it actually
Karis LeVert.
yeah, Karis LeVert, sorry. And it actually wasn't as bad as people thought, and he opted not to have surgery today, and they're saying that he could possibly be back at the end of the year. So that's good that it wasn't, crazy bad for sure.
Yeah, when I first saw it, the first thing I thought of was the Paul George injury. I thought it looked nasty too. It looked really bad. I thought maybe he tore his ACL and his MCL all in the same shot, and then possibly broke something. It just looked bad, man. So it's good that the guy's not hurt. You never want to see anybody get hurt. It was cool to see the NBA community come out and give the guy a lot of love because he has been having a really good year. He has.
Yeah. So get us started with that Miami side of things.
A guy I kind of like in this one is your boy, man. I kind of like Goran Dragic. Steady Eddie here at $6,700. Again, he's in that price range where we say he never really leaves from $6,400 to $6,800. He's $6,700. I kind of like him in this spot going against Brooklyn. 37.1 against Philadelphia in his last outing. It's always going to be with Dragic. Is he a couple of things? Is he healthy for one, and is he going to play minutes? And Brooklyn has played people tough, man. They have played people tough. I think they play a little bit better than what their record is. They're not a top tier team in the NBA by any means, but they're good enough to keep the game close, and Dragic could get good run here. And I like him in this spot. Josh Richardson is, he's obviously like you said, he's the best player on this team, but there's really two guys for me that there's three guys for me that I look to play on this team. Whiteside, if Jared Allen is out, there's absolutely nobody who's going to be able to deal with Whiteside. There's just not. I mean, Ed Davis is not going to do it. Damari Carroll's a power forward. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson is a power forward. There's nobody who's going to deal with Whiteside. So you have to ask yourself if you want to pay up $9,200 for Whiteside, possibly for tournaments. You get exposure to Whiteside tomorrow. It's a pretty good spot for him. Rodney Magruder is a guy that I'd like to play all year. Only thing is, in the beginning of the year, when we took a look at Rodney Magruder, his minutes, they were in the neighborhood of, as you can see here, 33, 37, 33, 34. Last two games, he's only played 26 minutes, and his fantasy production is down as well. So not only has his price dropped, but so is his production and his minutes. So this is a guy for me that's probably strictly a tournament-only play. Dwayne Wade, again, you know, he had the birth of his new child. He's not in action. So for me, Dragic, Whiteside is probably where I'll keep it. Josh Richardson is a GPP play. And then deep GPP play, you could look to play a Tyler Johnson or Rodney Magruder.
Yeah, so I mean, and you know, when you look on the Brooklyn side of things, obviously with no Karis LeVert, it opens up some minutes for some guys. I think a guy that'll get a couple extra minutes is going to be Dinwiddie for sure. Dinwiddie, we know he's a guy fills up the stat sheet. You know, he's a baller when he's on the floor. He does well. You know, the guy I'm liking is I do like D'Angelo Russell. The only problem with him is his price tag is right there where it should be, and he's going to definitely get a couple extra minutes as well. With no Karis LeVert, and they're going to need some scoring, and we know this guy will take some shots. So I think he's a decent GPP play. You know, and then there's not really nobody. I mean, there's not. Like I'm looking at Joe Harris. I know he's gonna get a couple extra minutes as well with no LeVert, but he's just not a guy that excites me. And the price tag is not. It's not like he's a minimum price guy. You know, so I definitely look elsewhere. Hollis Jefferson, he's a guy starting to pick it up a little bit. Last game he got the start. You know, he got 26 minutes, so he obviously had a good game. I mean, it's all about minutes with him. But before this last game, he really wasn't getting the minutes. So they got kind of a log jam in the big spot position. And then, you know, it's all about, you know, Jared Allen. He was the guy that he was out last game. So with the illness and this way, it opened up minutes for Hollis Jefferson and Ed Davis. Ed Davis has been getting some minutes as well. So if Jared Allen was out again tomorrow, then both of these guys will get big bumps. If Allen is in, then I'm pretty much just going to completely stay away from the whole situation. Possibly you can look at Ed Davis as kind of a punt play, and that's really where I'm at.
I would note here that Damari Carroll has seen an uptick in minutes since coming back. I believe 16, then 18, then 22 or 23 yesterday. So at $4,000 with LeVert out, if we have any news that Damari Carroll is going to be playing 25 plus minutes, I think he's a really good value play at $4,000, and that would really scratch off a Justice Winslow if you're thinking about playing him at $5,200. And one thing about Justice Winslow, I see somebody asking about him in the chat, so that's why I'm touching on it. Justice Winslow's performance just isn't there. I know this guy's a very talented player, but he's been very sporadic. I'll just pop this open so you can take a look at his player card and see what he's done. 13, 18, and 19. It's just not this is a too big of a slate to play a Justice Winslow at $5,300 in your small forward number 2 spot for a guy who's getting this many minutes and only he's not even a point per dollar fantasy play right now. So I'm not interested in Winslow for tournaments. And definitely I don't think he's cash safe.
Yeah, so moving on to the next game, we're gonna go to Detroit Pistons going into Toronto to face the Raptors. This game has a 224 implied total, and Toronto is favored by 10 in this one.
Toronto favored by 10. Andre Drummond last year had 2 monster games against Toronto. He had a 58.4 game and a 61.6. So at 10,000, you know, he definitely has 6x upside already, and then playing in a matchup that we know has been favorable for him in the past. I think he's a decent tournament play tomorrow. Blake Griffin playing at a very high level right now. The thing about Blake Griffin is he went out and, you know, pretty much had a run of 44, 44, 61, 51. Then he kind of dudded out at 30, 35, 24. So, play the game log watchers will probably be off Griffin a little bit. But if you think about it, the Orlando game, you go back to that where he had 30.5 fantasy points. Drummond had a monster game and really dominated that one. And then the 35.3 game, Blake Griffin really had 35.3 fantasy points in the first 2 quarters. They blew Atlanta's doors off, and he didn't really play in the second half. He only played 26 minutes in that game. So Griffin is a guy I like in this one as well. I'll stay away from their backcourt and wing players. There's not really anything that I'm looking to target here. There's better spots. I don't really need to get into Reggie Jackson or Ish Smith or Stanley Johnson or Reggie Bullock. We've talked many times before on this video about how good defensively with Kawhi Leonard, Toronto is on the perimeter. So Drummond and Blake Griffin is where I'll keep it.
Yeah, and then on the Detroit side of things, there's 4 guys I like. Make it simple for you. First thing first, Kyle Lowry, 8,500, fair price tag for him. We need, about 42 for him to hit value. He's had a couple of down games. I understand. Just a couple of bad shooting games. It is what it was. It is what it is. But the guy, he's a really good player. He's an all-star. He's gonna bounce back and shoot the ball well again. I like him in this spot. Reggie Jackson's defense isn't something that scares me. He's the first guy I'm gonna talk about. Then you look at Kawhi Leonard. As long as this guy's under 10,000, I'm gonna continue to play him. This guy has absolute green light. We've seen this, in past years with Toronto with DeMar DeRozan. He has a green light to shoot as much as he wants, and Kawhi Leonard has that exact same thing. The guy's getting rebounds, playing defense, getting some steals as well. I like him in this spot. I definitely think this game could stay close. Griffin, Drummond, there's some good players for sure. Detroit have. So I like Leonard, 9,200 for him to hit value. We need about 46. Definitely think he can get us close to that. I think he gives us a solid floor for your cash games as well. And then the last 2 guys, I love this combo that they are doing. I think I'm giving the coach a lot of props. I like Siakam and Ibaka. This combination starting next to each other. Man, they're tearing it up. And I know that Griffin and Drummond are really good. Don't get me wrong. But this is actually going to be a really good matchup because both of these big men have been playing very well. Both of them, are big, lengthy. Siakam, you can check out. The guy's been very consistent outside of one bad game against Phoenix. 42, 36, 27, 27, 35. He's giving us a solid floor. I like him in this spot. And then, Ibaka, he's been thriving at the center position. Career highs, all throughout his numbers. Last game had a very good game against New Orleans. You would think, man, he has to go against Blake Griffin. He went against Anthony Davis. And, yeah, it was a tough matchup. And the guy had a monster game, 19-14. Definitely, like I said, playing well. So I like Ibaka. And that's really where I'm at, just those 4 guys for the Raptors. And I'm ready to move on if you are.
Mm-hmm.
All right, bro. So the next game we're going to go to, it's going to be New York going into OKC to face the Thunder. This is one of the games that we don't have over-under or a Vegas line yet on it. But, we'll touch on this game. So go ahead and get us started with the Knicks side of things.
There's 2 plays in this game for me. And it starts right here with Enes Kanter. We know the narrative. This dude loves Russell Westbrook. He loves Steven Adams. I'm being a little bit facetious here, but this guy's looking forward to this opportunity to play these guys. You look at his game log, 34.5, 34, 29.2, 60.3, 31.4, even 32 against Brooklyn. Take a look at the Dallas game. He only played 20 minutes in that one, but did put up 25 fantasy points. I love to look at guys who were a point per minute fantasy player or better. Kanter on the season averaging 26.6 minutes, and he's about 33.4 fantasy points per game, so just over 1.26 fantasy points per minute. This guy's a productive player. It looks like he's back in the good graces, back in the rotation. You take a look at the game log, and you can see he's played 41, 30, and 26 in 3 of the last 4 games. People aren't stupid. We're not the only ones that know Enes Kanter used to play for the Thunder. He's going to get minutes tomorrow. It'll be him against Adams. I think this is going to be the best matchup in this game. The only thing to really take a look at. The other guy that I'll talk about is this dude Knox, Kevin Knox, coming back off an injury. They really nursed him back, but you have to look at where the minutes start to go. So his minutes are back trending in the right direction. They started him with 4. They gave him 9. Then he plays 24 and now 25. I like this dude. Very fair price for what he's going to give you. $4,400 in tomorrow's slate. So I like this guy a lot. I think he gives you a good floor, a good tournament play on a big slate at the power forward position. So I'm not looking to play Tim Hardaway Jr. I think Paul George is too good defensively, and or even a Terrence Ferguson too good defensively, who he'll probably draw a matchup against. Taking a look at last year, Hardaway in 2 games, 17 and 24 fantasy points in only 23 and 22 minutes. That's not going to pay off value at $7,200. So not looking to play him, but I am really interested in playing Enes Kanter, and I am interested in playing Kevin Knox. Outside of that, too many inconsistent minutes. The rotation is too big. And, there's not enough talent for the small amount of minutes you're getting. If you think the game's going to blow out, you could play Alonzo Trier at 4,700 if you want to take a deep dart throw at a GPP play, but his price is even too expensive based off of his last game. So keep it with Kanter, keep it with Kevin Knox as a tournament play. You can even look at a Noah Vonleh as a tournament play if you want as well. He's a guy that's getting some minutes too, but that's it for me. I'd much rather play Knox at 4,400 than I would at Vonleh at 46 as far as that tournament play.
Yeah, and I mean on the OKC side of things, I think you just look at the obvious guys. Definitely, we know Westbrook's going to be out, so you go right back to the well with Schroeder. Schroeder's been killing it. He's been on absolute fire right now. He's been playing a ton of minutes. This guy, he's a really good player. He's a really good point guard. That's why I knew it was going to be interesting with him and Westbrook because they're both, really good point guards. I'm not saying he's on, Westbrook's level, but he's a really good point guard though. So I like Schroeder. Definitely think that as long as Westbrook's out, you continue playing him. Price tag's getting up, but I definitely think it's still fair. Paul George, his usage is crazy right now. With no Westbrook, the guy's been playing very, very well. I definitely think that you can look at Paul George. This guy's been tearing it up. Like I said, doing a little bit of everything. He's picking it up. He's getting a couple extra assists a game right now, having the ball in his hands. Paul George is a good play. Jeremiah Grant, I definitely think you could look at him for GPP, but his price tag is getting up for me, so I'm probably not going to really be looking at him too much. But I really like Adams a lot. Adams been tearing it up with no Westbrook. He's been scoring the ball. They needed some scoring. Westbrook gives you 25 to 30 points a game, so it's like where's that going to come from? And it's steadily. It's like there's no secret about it. You got Paul George picking it up. You got Schroeder. And you got Adams. Look at Adams. He scored 18 or more in 4 of the past 5 games. So he's been playing very consistent. We know he's going to get his defensive stats, get some rebounds, couple assists. So I think Adams is a really good play as well. And that's really where I'm at with the OKC side of things. And I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, let's keep it pushing.
Cool. So the next game we're going to go to, it's going to be the New Orleans Pelicans going into Minnesota to face the Timberwolves. This game doesn't have a Vegas line or over or under yet neither. I'm assuming it's because we have to see if the guys, Covington and Saric, play tomorrow. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into this game and get it started with the New Orleans side.
Man, Anthony Davis's price is just really high for what he's done recently, and he needs to get you somewhere in the neighborhood of 73.8 points tomorrow to reach tournament value at 6x. I don't really see it. There's not a history of it, right? You look at his previous history versus Timberwolves, and he goes 56, 35, 22, and 54. This has not been a matchup that either Karl Anthony Towns or Anthony Davis have played well in the past. They've kind of both underwhelmed in this matchup. Drew Holiday, a guy, his price was at 9,000. It's down to 8,500. 58.25 fantasy points against Toronto in a monster game. Been very consistent. He's had 40 plus fantasy points in his last 8 games or more. So 42, 48. He had a couple 41s, a couple 49s, and a couple 50-point games. And then if you look at the last time he didn't get you 40, it was against Utah, and only played 29 minutes. So Drew Holiday, I like him in this game. I apologize. He is 9,000. I had DraftKings open on another window, so he is 9,000. But I don't mind paying 9,000 for a guy who's got 50. He's got 54 for tournament value, and he's been getting you a solid 40, which is a great floor. Minnesota doesn't play great defense. I look for this to have a lot of possessions in it. Mirotic, game time decision again. We'll see if he goes. Randall's a little too expensive for the amount of run he's getting at 7,300. Elfrid Payton, a game time decision. We'll see what happens there. I do like Elfrid Payton if we get news that he's going to play without limitation. If he doesn't play, Etuan Moore continues to be a very solid play. Robert Covington, if he does play, not the best defender. It's a guy you can attack. It's a guy that has a history of getting in foul trouble when trying to guard quick guys on the perimeter. Etuan Moore would cause problems for him. At $4,900, he can definitely reach value, getting 28.6 minutes per game over his last 5 games. So there's spots to attack here. Definitely Drew Holiday leading the way. If you want to get really crazy and throw Anthony Davis in there, I think that he has the opportunity to get you 75 fantasy points tomorrow. By all means, knock yourself out. But for me, it's really Drew Holiday.
Yeah, and then on the Minnesota side of things, it's interesting a little bit because now you're going to throw Sark in there, you're going to throw Covington. So what are they going to do with the minutes? And that's really, for me, it's really the 3 and the 4 spots. First things first, you got Jeff Teague came back last game, and he pretty much played shooting guard. And he had a very good game. That they had him and Derrick Rose playing alongside each other a lot. He played 34 minutes, 24, 11, 3 steals for 44 fantasy points. I mean, if he's going to get you, even 35 fantasy points, you'll take that. That would be a solid floor for this price right here. You need, 34 for value. So like I said, if you even 35, that would be great. Give you, solid little cash game play with some upside right there. This is going to be an up-tempo game against New Orleans. The only thing that we do got to figure out is who is Drew Holiday going to guard? Is it going to be Teague or is it going to be Rose if they're going to be starting next to each other? That's the big thing that we got to kind of figure out. But either way, I like Jeff Teague. I like Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is actually leading their team, and he's the one. He's getting more shots than anybody these past 5 games. Chucking the ball up. They're going to need scoring with no Jimmy Butler, and he's going to be the guy that, as long as he's healthy, he's going to provide it. You can see 21 actual scoring points in the past 4 games in a row, and he's played at least 34 minutes. So I think that his minutes are pretty safe, even with these other guys coming in. They're going to rely on him to score the ball. So I definitely like Teague. I like Rose. You look at Wiggins, he's questionable. I expect him to play though. He's one of their young studs. He'll get his minutes as well. Last game, 37 minutes. And the thing about him is he has upside. He has, 35, 40 fantasy point upside. We know that. But he's consistently getting you 24 to 27 fantasy points. And on a 6.7 price tag, we need about 33 minimum just to hit cash value 5 times. So I don't know if I'm really going to go to Wiggins, but I definitely think you can put him in a couple of GPP lineups because he does have some upside. And then like I said, the Covington thing, I don't know what's going to happen. Gibson's still going to start 5,500, but if Sark plays, he's definitely going to get some of these minutes. And then we know Karl Anthony Towns he's going to get his. We know that for sure. Karl Anthony Towns with no Butler, I bet you he feels so much rejuvenated. This guy's out of here. This is my team. Last game he had a good game. The past couple games he's been playing very well. 2 games ago against Sac, 39 minutes, 39-19, 61 fantasy points, 37 for 25 and 21. 2 monster back-to-back games. I expect them to keep it rolling. Really like Towns in this spot. The only thing is, my rule that I always talk about He's going to be going against Anthony Davis a little bit, so I hopefully he doesn't get in foul trouble. That's the only thing that's kind of worrying me in this spot. But otherwise, it will be an up and down game, and I expect Towns to have a solid night, and that's really where I'm at, man.
I will tell you that the last game they played, Towns had 41 fantasy points, but before that, he had never had more than 30 fantasy points, and he just dudded out. It was foul trouble all the time. It's like Towns would come into this game and try and do something big against Anthony Davis and just dud.
Yeah, no, and that's why I had to mention the foul trouble thing for sure. All right, so next game that we're gonna move on to it is going to be Memphis going into Milwaukee to face the Bucks. This game has a 216 implied total, and Milwaukee's favored by 9.5 in this one.
First place I'm going to start is Kyle Anderson, and looking back to last year in 2 games against Milwaukee, he had 33 minutes in one of them and had 33 fantasy points. The reason that's relevant is if you look at his current season game log, Kyle Anderson is getting around that many minutes per game. The guy's been very solid and very effective as of late. 37 minutes, 32 minutes, 32 minutes, 29. Only one 26-minute game against Phoenix, but he's giving you 30 minutes. And at $4,800 tomorrow, I think this guy's a very, very fair shooting guard number 2. He's 50. What's wrong with our pricing, man? Why is our pricing off? It looks like our pricing's off on our player cards. His DraftKings price is $4,800, so he's $5,600. Maybe his price is getting a little expensive for that 6x value that we need. But it's a guy that I like in this game. Kyle Anderson has upside. If he knocks a 3-ball down and gets you some points to go with all of the other statistical categories that he fills up, the guy has upside in this game. Center position, we've liked to attack the center, use centers against Milwaukee this season. Marc Gasol having a very decent year. Take a look at his player card. The Utah game, we called that out right on the video when we talked about playing a Marc Gasol against a Rudy Gobert and 2 good big guys going against each other. Brook Lopez, not a big guy that stands under the basket with his back to the hoop and tries to box out and get rebounds and putbacks. He's a guy that likes to stand out there on the perimeter and try and knock down 3. So Marc Gasol, he can have a really game. Seems like very fair. He has 45, 50-point upside in this game. For me, $8,100, I think he can get you 48 or 50 tomorrow night. There's just not a center that's going to go take rebounds away from Gasol. It's and Giannis, 10 matchups when Giannis has had to play in the spot against a team who has a decent center, Giannis tends to get in a little bit of foul trouble. So I like Gasol in this game. I'm not looking to play Conley. Really, Gasol. You can take a look at Jaren Jackson, but I don't like the matchup. Giannis, he plays a point guard, but he's like a point power forward, man. Like the guy, he gets in the paint. He does all the things, and I just don't think Jaren Jackson can handle anything Johnson's going to bring it. Kyle Anderson is really where I'll keep it.
Yeah, so on the Milwaukee side of things, first thing I'll start with Eric Bledsoe. I understand he does have a little bit of a tough matchup going against Mike Conley, but he's just a very fair price tag at $7,000. The guy's consistent. We definitely know. He when he's on the floor, he's not scared to shoot the ball. He gets some, open 3-pointers due to Giannis kicking out. So I like Bledsoe. That's the first guy that I'm going to talk about. You got Chris Middleton, 7,200. For him to hit value, we need about 36. He's a guy that's been, he's been averaging close to 36 all the season. This guy's averaging almost 30. So I definitely think that he's a solid player that you could definitely look at tomorrow. A little bit more GPP just because the price tag is a little bit higher than I would like. And then you got Antetokounmpo. But the thing is do I want to pay 11.8 for him tomorrow when I could pay up for some other guys and some other spots that I like? Well, the positive thing about him is that we know that he's going to give us a solid floor night in and night out. But like you talked about, what he's been doing really, really good at is they've been playing him at the center position. there is no way in hell they can put him at the center position against Marcus Saul. Marcus Saul would absolutely eat him up. So, I mean, I'm not really feeling Giannis tomorrow. I definitely think you can always put him in a couple of lineups and in some tournaments if you're running, the optimizer and you're trying to just kind of mix up your exposure a little bit. But he's not a guy I'm really going to be targeting tomorrow. And that's really it for me. There's not really too many guys that I'm looking to play on the Milwaukee side of things. Brook Lopez is going to start against Gasol. No, thank you. So really, it's just their main guys: Bledsoe, Middleton, and then Antetokounmpo for a GPP. And then the last guy I just want to quickly mention, I don't want to leave him out, been playing well as well, is Malcolm Brogdon. I definitely think that you can put him, consider him in a couple of GPP lineups. The guy's been, like I said, playing well, scoring the ball, shooting the ball well, hitting some threes, doing a little bit of everything. So GPP, you can look at Brogdon, and that's about it for me.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I mean, I like the team. I'm just not really feeling nobody for tomorrow, to be honest. Not against Memphis.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So we got the Utah Jazz going into Dallas to face the Mavericks. This game has a 213 implied total, and Utah's favored by 4.5 in this one.
So on a bigger slate, or on a smaller slate, I would look to play Jay Crowder a little bit because he's just been really solid. He had a really solid game against Boston, just like we thought he would. He was a guy that I was really high on the video we did. Duds out against Memphis. There goes Memphis again. Just talking about him in this last game we're talking about. But other than that, Jay Crowder's been really solid. Denver 33.5. The guy has 30-point upside at $5,200. It's a guy I like. I think this is a good spot to play him in. He's a lot bigger player than Harrison Barnes is, who plays that power forward position for Dallas. I know Harrison Barnes is listed as a small forward on the sites, but he really plays that power forward position, especially without a Dirk on the floor. Even if he's matched up against a Dorian Finney-Smith, Jay Crowder's a lot bigger player. Joe Ingles' price creeping up a little bit. Last year averaged 33 points against 5 games. So he's not really at that spot. He can get me the 6 or 7 plus for him tomorrow, really to get tournament value. We need, somewhere neighborhood of 39 to 44 points, somewhere in there. So not a guy I'm looking to play, but Donovan Mitchell is a guy that I'm really looking to play tomorrow night at $8,300. Last year he averaged 35.8 fantasy points against Dallas, but the average is kind of thrown off a little bit because of the fact his first game was a little more than a year ago, October 30th. He was just a young rookie in the league, only played 17 minutes, had 16.7 fantasy points. Outside of that, 43.7, 46, and 44.5. I think Donovan Mitchell is the guy to target in this game. You could look to Ricky Rubio. It's a bigger slate. I understand if you want to get a guy to a lower exposure rate. He averages about 32 fantasy points against Dallas over his career. So he's not a guy I'm looking. I think there's better spots and better plays, but Donovan Mitchell's where I'll keep it as far as the Utah side.
Yeah, so on the Dallas side of things, can I just say I like one guy, we can move on? The one guy I like is I like Harrison Barnes, 6,200, very fair price tag still. We've seen that they're going to play this guy his minutes outside of this OKC game. I'm not sure exactly what happened. I mean, he's been getting his consistent 32 to 34 minutes a game pretty much. And the guy's been playing well for the most part, coming off a really good game, shooting the ball well. He's a guy that, he's always going to get us close to 30 fantasy points any night. He reminds me of Goran Dragic. We always talk about Dragic. Not really going to kill you. It's the same thing with Harrison Barnes. His price tag is right there in that range, 6,200. Still very fair. I mean, you could look at Dennis Smith, but the thing is even though his price tag is down, his production has been way down. He's had a couple good games, but I mean, a guy that's going to play 24, 26, and 24 minutes, and he's a starting point guard, no thank you. Doncic, the price tag is still a little bit too high for me. Honestly, I think these guys at the beginning of the year, they had to score a little bit more, do a little bit more without Harrison Barnes. But Harrison Barnes is back, and he's a guy that takes 15, 16 shots a game. So these guys are getting a couple little less shots, and the production's been showing, even in the rookie. I mean, he's still playing solid, but, he's not getting those 40, 40, 40 that he was getting early in the year. Now he's getting, mid 20s to, low 30s. And, we can't have that at a 7.7 price tag. And then DeAndre Jordan, I mean, I don't know what's going on with this dude. I mean, he's getting rebounds. That's what he does, but he just can't get the ball in the bucket. He hasn't, consistently, had double-digit scoring, in the past 6, 7 games. The guy just gets rebounds. That's really just all he's doing right now. Gets a couple of defensive stats. So I'm going to stay away from him. I don't like him at this price tag of 7.5, especially going against Gobert. So for me, I'm strictly going to go Barnes, and I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Cool, bro. Hey, the last game of the night is good. I didn't see what it was, but okay. Hey, let's get through this one though. So now we got
this one will be fast. I'll tell you that.
San Antonio Spurs going into Phoenix to face the Suns. This game has a 211 implied total, and San Antonio is favored by 5.
There's really 2 guys you can look to play here, and anything outside of that is borderline insanity. We know Rudy Gay is out. It's a scheduled rest day for him coming back off the injury. The guy that was the biggest beneficiary was Davis Bertans, 3,600. The first time these guys played in Phoenix, I told you guys, with a healthy Rudy Gay and a healthy DeMar DeRozan and a full complement of their players, I told you guys that the best pump play on the slate came from that game. It was Davis Bertans. He played 23 minutes in that game. Davis Bertans in the games that Rudy Gay missed due to injury, Bertans played, let me just pull this up here. He played, where is he at? Bertans. So in the games that Rudy Gay missed, he got 25, 26, and 20 minutes. 29.3 against Miami was his biggest output. I will play him tomorrow as a drop spot at small forward in tournaments, and hope, the game blows out, he gets extended run, plays those 29, 30 minutes. So outside of that, LaMarcus Aldridge is too expensive for a blowout factor. DeMar DeRozan, we need almost 55 points from to reach tournament value. This game would have to stay really close. There's not a lot of spots to attack Phoenix with from the San Antonio side of it.
Yeah, so on the Phoenix side, there's actually 3 guys I like. 2 that I really like. One that I definitely have to throw in. So first thing first, Devin Booker, 7,600, very fair price tag. This is a guy that on any slate you got to consider him because we know he has massive upside. This is a very fair price for him. This is a guy who he's one of those guys on this team, whether it's a blowout or not, he's always going to be in there. He's always going to be shooting 3-pointers. He's always going to be doing something. So definitely got to consider Booker. And the thing is the San Antonio Spurs aren't the same defensive team they used to be. I mean, it is what it is straight up. So at small forward, a guy that I'm really liking as well, TJ Warren, 6,400. This guy, the past 3 games, they've been giving him his minutes, and he's been absolutely killing it, scoring the ball, at least 21 points in 3 straight games, giving us, a ton of run. And this is not a fluke. This is a guy who did this last year, and he was a starter, and he had a really, really good year last year. And they're finally coming back to reality, realizing this is a guy that has to play. He is one of their better players. So he's back to playing a lot of minutes, and he does definitely give us upside. One thing I want to note as well is I actually played him last game, and he had, I think it was 7 fantasy points going into halftime. So I'm like, oh, man, this guy is about to just absolutely shit the bed on me. 7 fantasy points at halftime. He comes out in a game that they were down by like 22, and him and Booker helped bring the team back, and he scored 26 fantasy points in the second half. So I mean, the guy has, like I said, he's playing very well. I like Warren a lot tomorrow. And lastly, you just can quickly mention the rookie. Price tag's down a little bit now, 7,000. And this guy's showing us some upside, 40 fantasy point upside on the season. And he's playing well for the most part. He's getting his minutes, playing 30 minutes a game. So I like him. We been mentioning it. A bunch of the big men for the Spurs are hurt right now. We know Gasol's out. So definitely we've been picking on the Spurs with sinners. So I definitely think you could look at Ayton. So for me, it's just Booker, Warren, Ayton, and I'm ready to get to the main event.
Yep.
Let's go. All right. So, man, we got the Portland Trailblazers coming into LA to face the Lakers. This game has a 226.5 implied total. I'm sure this game is going to have the highest implied total on the slate. Lakers are actually favored by 2.5 in this game. One thing real quick is, as a Lakers fan, this would be a monster game for us to win and just kind of boost our confidence, bro. Like, man, this would be a big game for us to win.
So the biggest news in this one is I just saw a tweet that Lillard didn't practice today, and he's a game time decision. He has a right knee injury. It will be a game time decision for Wednesday's game. So this would affect the over and under quite a bit. They don't have Shabazz Napier on this team, who was the obvious value play last year and did major damage when he played when Lillard missed games. I would think if Lillard doesn't play tomorrow, the biggest beneficiary would be Seth Curry at minimum value at 3,500 and would probably be one of the most popular plays on the entire slate. Worth noting, CJ McCollum has absolutely killed the Lakers for his career. Didn't have any monster games last year against the Lakers, but he did have a 39, a 38.5, a 33.5, and a 32.9 coming off a weak performance. 19.9 fantasy points against Boston on a smaller slate. So CJ McCollum, a very fair price of 6,400 going against the Lakers. Will be a lot of possessions, high over under game. We'll get an even bigger boost in usage if Dame doesn't play. Next guy to look at is Nurkic. JaVale McGee playing very well offensively, but he's not a great defensive center. Nurkic has not played that bad as of recent. He has 4 almost 40-point games out of his last 5, 38.9, 36.3, 31.6, 36.4, and 39.6. Against the Lakers, they've played twice this season already. 39.6 in the last one, 30.8 the one before. So he's a good play. McCollum, Nurkic, very good plays. You can even look to play Aminu tomorrow night. I don't know. I'm a guy that likes to play Aminu when he's at 5,000 or below. I understand he's at 5,300, so he's very close to kind of that sweet spot I like to play him at. And the games he's played against the Lakers this year, he did have one monster game, 34.6, the last time they played in 32 minutes. 27.8 and 26.6 in his last 2 fantasy games. So he's another guy you look to play. And then the guy that I love to play in these types of games is Evan Turner. $4,300. I think he's definitely in play tomorrow. Versus the Lakers, he had the first time they played, he had 28.6 fantasy points in 21 minutes. He's a $4,100 price tag in that one.
If check this out, if Damian Lillard is out, I think Evan Turner is going to be the main beneficiary because if you've watched him this year, he's actually back to point guard right now.
Yeah, he definitely will. But my point being, at $3,500, the guy who will get additional run is Seth Curry, and that point guard number 2 spot on a large slate to give you. You're possibly looking at 2 obvious drop spot pump plays tomorrow if Dame's out. With Davis Bertans, you could plug in the small forward as your drop spot, and then your value play of Seth Curry at 3,500 at the point guard spot. So I think there's 2 really good. Watch the injury news, but the last guy I'll mention is Zach Collins. We had him. You had him in the cash game lineup the first time they played. As your pump play, I believe he was your pump play, right? Your salary saver.
Right.
And the dude absolutely went off for 33.2 fantasy points at $3,800, played 26 minutes. So he's had 2 decent games against the Lakers this year. He's been almost at a fantasy point per minute against the Lakers in the 2 games they played this year. So, and he's having a pretty good season. Zach Collins having a pretty good season, averaging about 20 minutes, averaging right at 1 fantasy point per minute when he plays. So I think there's a lot of goodness in this game. Obviously, watch the news with Damian Lillard. It sounds like it could be something that could keep him out for a couple games if they're talking about it's a knee injury. He had the same kind of injury last year. He ended up missing like 7 or 8 games, if you'll recall. So keep an eye on that. Hopefully we get news on it prior to the lock because, like I said, there's some Evan Turner, Seth Curry look to be big beneficiaries there.
Yeah, so hey, bro, call me crazy. Call me crazy if you want to. There's not even nobody I even like on the Lakers side of things. So, I mean, we'll get into it. First thing first, you got Lonzo Ball and Rondo. I mean, both of them are fair price, but they're almost splitting minutes identically down the middle. I mean, so they're not really giving us no upside. I mean, they're taking away from each other. I mean, look at this dude's minutes 27, 19, 21, 23. And then you got Rondo. I'm just giving you a quick little example. Just kind of, you got Rondo 16, 28, 26, 24. He's actually getting more minutes. So I'm going to stay away from them. And it's the same exact thing as shooting guard with Josh Caldwell Pope.
One thing I'll say though is that, and this call me crazy because I know Rondo fills up all of the categories on the stat sheet, right? But I don't mind playing, and I'm not a Lonzo fan. I don't mind playing Lonzo at 5,700 on the minutes he's getting because the guy can drop a ton of assists. He can get you, and he does get you block shots and steals, which those are big point getters, right? I mean, I don't have a problem with Ball. I could see playing Ball in this game for sure.
Yeah, I'm not really feeling them. But in the shooting guard position, you got Josh Hart, Caldwell Pope kind of taking away from each other. I understand they're both cheap. If I was going to punt with either one of them, I definitely would pay up the extra 900 and go with Josh Hart. And then you got LeBron. Thing about LeBron is he's pricey, 11.2. And I mean, he just really hasn't been getting there. We need 55 just for value. And I mean, he's gotten a 55 one time in the past 6 games. I definitely think that, I mean, he could hit value. I'm not saying he can't. He can't. He just hasn't been doing that. Like that, he hasn't been having those monster games. And I think this year the main thing that he hasn't been getting as much compared to years past is he hasn't been consistently getting like a ton of assists lately. Is kind of what it is really. Rondo pretty much gets a lot of the assists, and Ball gets a lot of assists, as you mentioned as well. Definitely, though, anytime he's on the slate, 11.2. I mean, you could consider him. I just don't know if he's really the guy we do want to pay up for on the slate. Two guys that they are getting their minutes, close to 30 minutes a game. You got Brandon Ingram, 6,000. About for him to hit value, we need about 30. He's averaging 27 on the season. He's a little bit up and down. He's still a young player, but he's getting his minutes and he does a little bit of everything. So I definitely think we can look at Ingram and we can also look at Kuzma. Both of these guys, they're playing the young guys. He's getting, his 30 minutes a game and he's getting a ton of shots. He's getting a lot of rebounds right now. So I like Kuzma. I think Kuzma's a solid play. And I'm not really going to mess with the JaVale McGee and the Chandler. If you look at it, both of these, since Chandler's came, they're pretty much splitting minutes, down the middle. This dude Chandler's getting, you a lot of minutes, 22, 23, 21. It's not like he's only getting, 10. And, so it's taken away from McGee. McGee was having a lot of success earlier in the season. Now with Chandler here, kind of splitting minutes, and price tag is still a little too high for me. So, I mean, that's really where I'm at. I'm going to look at LeBron, and that's it for me on the Laker team.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Call me crazy. I will have exposure to both Tyson Chandler and JaVale McGee tomorrow for the exact reasons you just stated. For one, you're going to give me Tyson Chandler at 3,400 playing 20-plus minutes. Give it to me all day long in tournaments, $3,400. All the upside in the world you need for a double-double, especially in a matchup with a team that doesn't have a center other than Nurkic, who has always, for his career, struggled with being in foul trouble. And then, like I've always told you, I look at previous game history. So the last game that McGee played in, he had 27 minutes against Atlanta, had 31.3 fantasy points. You look at the last game he played against Portland, he had 27 minutes and put up 43.3 fantasy points. The game before that, he only had 22 minutes and he put up 36.1 fantasy points. I like both these centers tomorrow night. They're probably right now just early look. These are two of the top in my top. These are two centers that are in my top 5 centers tomorrow because of opportunity, upside, game, exposure, over under, all of the things that I like to look at. I think Tyson Chandler's in such a good spot for a tournament play. This is the type of spot where Tyson Chandler gets you a double-double and you can win a tournament with him. And JaVale McGee, I think people stay away because his price, like you said, is high. People are looking at Tyson Chandler there, but JaVale McGee hasn't needed big minutes this year to put up monster numbers against Portland.
Yeah, so that about wraps it up. We got through the whole slate finally, bro. That was a long one, man. But yeah, hey, real quick. So before we do get out of here, bro, look, check it out so everybody can see. Hey, how about we went through this big old 11-game slate. I'm gonna run the optimizer real quick. We're gonna get a quick look of what the numbers are pointing at early. We're doing this the night before, so this is kind of early look what the numbers are pointing at for tomorrow. Right, bro? Cool.
Cool.
All right, bro. So here we go. I'm just gonna run a quick 10 lineups real quick. Any day now. It's taking forever. I may have to reload this shit. Oh, there we go. So, looking at John Wall, yep, like we were talking about earlier, Sexton, it's been bad. Look at, there's your boy and the #1 current lineup, bro. Lonzo Ball and your boy JaVale McGee down here. Oh, bro. Devin Booker, Magruder, solid play, 4,600. Anthony Davis gets, man. Hey, these are a lot of guys we were talking about. Larry Nance, I like Larry Nance tomorrow. Soccer, we were talking about him. Simmons, Towns. Hey, these look like some fire though, bro.
Tomorrow, you look on big slates. You've always got to find a way to get value in spots and figure out. Look, just for you guys watching the video right now, I'll break a couple things down for you that you have to absolutely look for on a daily basis, and that is points per minute, right? It doesn't do you any good to play a guy who's getting you 0.6, 0.7 points per fantasy points per minute. No matter how good a spot he's in, if his average for the season is 0.5, 0.6 fantasy points per minute, you can't mess with him. But you take a look at a guy like JaVale McGee, who we've got in our optimal line right there right now. I know it's early, but he's averaging 1.43 fantasy points per minute. So that translates over. If you play 22 minutes, you can expect to get 22, 23, 24 fantasy points out of the guy. So it's a very important stat to look at, fantasy points per minute. The value is also a very important stat to look at as well. So, JaVale McGee, I like the guy tomorrow, man, for all the reasons I stated.
Yeah, so I think that's about all we got on this slate. Tomorrow I'll be back with my NBA core picks for the day. You can definitely go check out Jeremy's NBA GPP core plays. Get you some tournament core plays for your tournaments as well. You can lock in the optimizer over there on the DFS Cheat Sheet YouTube channel. Make sure to go check out that channel and subscribe as well. Thanks for checking us out on this video. We appreciate it, and I think that's about it. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Good luck on your fantasy lineups. Peace out.